Hey everyone, Ben Coomber Radio, episode number 150. I am full of beans, full of energy, punching and kicking, yeah. Rachel, hello, hi.
I was going to say, because we always record, I was going to say, good morning, Benny, but actually, I'm in London, so good afternoon, how are you?
I'm really good. I think I've got even more energy because, it doesn't happen to me that often, but I've had a tough week. It's been a bit of a grind. Some things have happened, and it's kind of built on top of other things and stuff. And sometimes, I just hibernated a bit. I got on with it. I did what I needed to do, and I've come out the other end, kicking and punching. I've made a plan. I know what's going down. So I feel like I've even got more energy. It's nice because you go through a bit of a low, and then you're like, right, this is where we're at now. We're running forward, and you kind of forget your true invigorated self, and it's quite a nice feeling to kind of remember that.
100% agree, and here's the thing, right? Whenever you're having a shit time, there's always going to be a good time that comes at some stage, and the truth is you never truly appreciate the good times and when everything is just in flow unless you actually do the graft and the grind that's always associated with that, because that's the way the world works. There's black and there's white, and there's good times and there's not so good times, and there's yes and there's no, and so these things always, it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? So, and I can say the same. I've had a bit of an up and down couple of weeks myself, so we're finally on the up again. So we've got a heap of questions here, so we should probably get on with it.
Yeah, also because I Skyped a message you before this, and I was like, Rachel, I've only got like half an hour, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm being hasty. It's not that I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, I'm average at best when it comes to conversation anyway. I'm not funny, so let's just get down to the shit.
Are you going to read this question or am I? Because quote unquote, you said to me offline, and you said I should probably read this question to you because it's about fannies and stuff. So.
Whoa, what? I meant lady problems. I said fannies because I knew it would make you laugh, and hopefully there's people listening to this thinking, oh my god, he said fanny.
Well, look, at least you didn't say the C word, so...
Oh, I'd never say that on a podcast. Oof.
No, I wouldn't, no. And as much as I swear, I wouldn't ever say the C word on a podcast. That's only reserved when I'm driving and somebody is very irritating towards me or threatens my beautiful car in any way, shape or form. So anyway, I digress. Shall we continue?
Sure.
So you're reading this or am I?
Oh, I'll read it, whatever. Right, hi Ben and Rachel. I have a question about the contraceptive implant and a supplement that I'm currently taking, DIM. I'm unsure if there would be a conflict between the two. I started taking DIM after listening to Ben's lecture on optimizing the female hormone system. I've had some problems in my menstrual cycle recently where I've had very small gaps between periods of only 3 to 5 days before it all starting again. It's left me feeling exhausted, depleted, and in a way, depressed. I have no energy for anything, no desire to even get out of bed, which is unlike me. I am usually very motivated. I've been reduced to doing the bare minimum. I've been doing some experimentation to try and eliminate other causes and see what is going on in my body. I did Rachel's AFBP for 8 weeks to get my nutrition and training very consistent, and loved it by the way, and tracked my macros and even upped my calories slowly. I'm now at 1900 where I was at 1600 before. This process helped me to eliminate nutrition and training as the cause of my symptoms. I also take fish oils and vitamin D, and I do not take any other supplements. So I narrowed it down to DIM, as there is less research on this, or at least I can't find much. Or I thought it could be an iron deficiency, which would make little sense to with the extra blood loss, obviously because she's having more intermittent periods. Going to the doctors is an option, but they usually try and avoid giving out blood tests in my experience. But of course I will go if that's the last option for figuring this out. If you have any input on this, I'd really appreciate hearing what you think. I'm an avid listener, and you both do amazing work that benefits thousands of people. Thank you for that, Nicola. P.S. Sorry if it grosses out all the boys. Look, boys love talking about fannies as well. It's not a problem. We talk about it down the pool hall, down the pub, wherever. So it's all good. Don't worry.
Okay, right. Let's get on with it, shall we?
See, now I think, she's added something into the diet. It's obvious that it potentially is that having a problem. Now, I'll reflect back on my optimizing the female hormone system talk. DIM is a supplement that is quite linear in terms of its physiological effect. We kind of know how it operates. How it takes effect in each individual is very unique. All it does is help speed up the process of estrogen metabolism through the liver. So it helps clear it. So people that are having excessively high estrogen levels for whatever reason they might be, might benefit from taking it. Now the reason why I kind of loosely recommend it, sort of off the bat in the seminar, in certain situations, is that for the most part it's fairly safe. Like there's not any big ramifications, there's not any big red flags. Now the only problem is the contraceptive pill, different ones work in different ways. Some are estrogen and progesterone, some are progesterone only, etc. And I'm sure Rachel is well more versed in that kind of information than I am. So if that is having an effect, let's say for example you're on a progesterone only pill and your progesterone is already high, your estrogen is low, DIM aids in processing more estrogen out of the liver, then it could leave you with a massive imbalance, and that's where the problem could lie. So unless you had any problems previously, I would just say take out the DIM. It's obviously a bit of a glaring issue there, and it's the only thing that's changed, and you seem otherwise healthy and on top of things. So I'd take it out. It's obviously shifting your hormones in a non-favourable way.
I would absolutely agree, and it is not normal to have 3 to 5 days between periods. That's very, very stressful on the body, and yes, you will be losing a lot of blood, so you're going to feel pretty rubbish and probably low in iron and feeling generally very tired. So I mean, this is something that needs to be sorted very, very quickly. So take it out. And also I would go to the doctor and also get a second opinion. Take it out first of all, and maybe spend the first week to 10 days actually just seeing if your periods settle down. But I would definitely get a trip to the doctor and demand some blood tests, because the reality is that no doctor can actually say no to a blood test. And yes, you might have to pay for some, but the reality is that you can actually ask for whatever you want to. If it's that obvious, and you've done the Athletic Fox Blueprint, which is a membership site which is training nutrition, obviously upping your calories, you've done everything else, take it out. See what happens. And if nothing changes, definitely trip to the doctor as well for that one. Easy.
Next.
See, it wasn't too painful talking about fannies, was it?
Nah, love fannies.
For a split second then, I nearly said, oh, so do I. Not in that way. Not in the same way that you... Oh, Jesus. Oh, dear. Okay. Oh, my God. I've been completely thrown. And now I'm sweating. We should do another podcast on sex, by the way. That was a really good one. God, we're going back... Shit, I'm getting hot now. Okay, this is the question from Thomas. Stop looking at me. My God, you're making me laugh.
I can't help it. We're on Skype. There's nowhere else to look.
Hello, Ben and Rachel. I'd like to start off by saying how much I love the podcast. Whilst on a recent holiday, I have re-listened to the majority of the back catalogue of episodes, and the information you provide is fantastic. I've gained not only knowledge, but an increased passion for the subject of nutrition and health, so much so that I wish to study it at university when I go next year. Thanks to you guys, I have a feeling I'll be ahead of the game compared to other students. Haha. Anyway, to the question. Whilst on holiday, being on an all-inclusive, there were an abundance of delights to choose from, particularly desserts. My family and I tried numerous of these, which sounded delicious and full of flavour, but when they tried them, they had no taste other than pure sugar. Whereas I could not warrant continuing to eat something with so many calories and such little nutrition, they continued to eat them. When I asked why, they all had the same answer. I don't know really. I just have to have something sweet after something savoury. This completely baffled me, and I was wondering what your take on this was. Do you think it's because society deems it normal to finish a meal with a dessert when we go out, or is it perhaps some hormonal reason why we do this? Apologies for the long question. I would really appreciate it if you could somehow find the time to answer it. Once again, thanks for the podcast and keep being awesome. Thomas.
This is interesting. I'm going to hypothesize on an answer. Now, why people eat foods, especially in an all-inclusive environment, when they kind of know they shouldn't, for me, it's just a simple psychological factor in that they wouldn't usually do it. So it's a case of, I can't do it, so I'm going to do it. And also, I've kind of paid for it, so I'm going to get, the most out of it. I'm going to make sure I eat it. So I think that's why, like, your other family members would have done it. Now, the craving something sweet after a meal is an interesting one, and I get this occasionally, and I think a lot of people do. And I think what happens, and again, if someone knows, something more concrete or scientific about this, then please send us in a question, Ben Coomber at Google Mail, subject line podcast. What happens, I think, is we eat a meal, and at the point we eat a meal, our blood sugar level is probably quite low. We eat a meal, and we've got to start the digestive process. Now, if that meal wasn't overly sweet, now remember, if we eat very carbohydrate-rich foods, the breakdown, the metabolism of that starts in the mouth. We produce saliva, amylase breaks it down, and that can actually start to enter the bloodstream very quickly. So we can almost start to get an elevation in blood glucose levels in the blood very quickly because of the type of food that we eat. Now, if you eat a normal mixed food diet, bit of protein, bit of fat, bit of carbs, veggies, whatever, the chances are, before that starts getting into the bloodstream, it's going to take a good 45 minutes before you even start your blood glucose levels to rise again. So you eat a meal and your body goes, I still don't have any blood glucose levels. Can you please eat something sweet? I was expecting some energy now. And I think that's why the body then goes, right, have something sweet, and then we'll go and have something sweet, whether it's a dessert or fruit or whatever. And I think that's why. Now, I say to myself, I am craving this. I know there's a reason, but I don't need it. And I just walk away. I walk away from the kitchen or sitting in front of the telly. Because if you're sitting in front of the telly, it's very easy to go into the lounge and just pick up something and mindlessly eat it. So I think you have to be disciplined about the boundaries and sometimes just not listen to the body. And sometimes that's why I like fruit, especially with females. Like, have a little handful of grapes after your meal or something if you feel that is inherently something that you are going to crave, but manage it in a sensible way. It's not many calories, it's healthy. So that's my kind of theory, and it is just a theory.
There's a few things that I'd add here. I mean, we're talking about eating out. Now, if you're eating out, particularly at a buffet, like, I'm a big taster of foods. Like, I'm a real foodie, and I like to taste a lot of foods. And I can completely relate to this. Like, you can see these delicious desserts sometimes, and you taste them, and you think, "Oh God, that was such a waste of a mouthful of calories." But it's something that, as humans, like, we like to taste and we like to experience different things, and there is that psychological element of, well, I paid for this anyway. Like, let's just pile it on and taste it. If I think we're in that's one situation. If we look at the other situation being the home situation, or for example, the Monday to Friday, I think the other thing that we need to consider here is if you're craving sweet stuff after you've eaten a meal, that there is a high chance that the macros that you had in that meal are incorrect for your body type. An example would be, look, back in the day, Paul Chek started talking about this with metabolic typing. And, I personally do a lot better on a heavier protein and fat meals, generally speaking. Whereas somebody who is maybe a different body type to me may do actually much better on a carbohydrate and like a lower fat-based meal. So if this is something that people are struggling with at home and really sort of craving sweet stuff every time after they eat, I would question the macro breakdown that they're having and perhaps look to tweak it. So fat has a massive satiety effect on your meals. So let's look at if you are having a low fat meal, perhaps it's time that you started adding a little bit more fat to that meal and actually seeing what that does to your cravings as well.
I concur. Yeah, I think we talked about that before, so to ram that point home, very important. Yeah.
We have. Next question.
Next question.
This question is from Alex. Oh, I like this. I like this question because I think a lot of women are going to relate to this. Hi Ben, I have no idea if you're taking on questions or not. I started on number 117 and I've gone right back to the beginning after that one. I have to thank you for coming into my life. You've really helped me question my goals in a positive way and made me reflect on exactly what I want to achieve. You've also given me many nuggets of golden advice, and I cannot get enough because I love learning about nutrition and conditioning. My question is basically, what can you do when you cannot help the stress? With a bit more background, I'm the mother of a small child, 12 months, who still wakes up at least once a night, so therefore I cannot get a full night's sleep no matter how much I would like to. So that's the first point of stress. The second point is obviously being a mum, working full time and fitting in exercise. Now, I'll be clear, I'm not bitching about it, but I know it's physiologically quite a lot to do. The third stressor is my job. Unfortunately, this is not something I can control. I love my job and I work in a diverse environment, but as a senior mental health nurse, my job by its nature can be quite stressful. My point is, I eat well and I work out 4 times a week. I'm happy to carry on this way, but I do worry that the stress is. I do worry that the stress that's constantly on my body could be doing more harm than good. I absolutely love going to the gym, and sometimes when I've had an awful day at work or home life is stressful, then the gym is my place of solace. I also love strength training, and I now feel that it's part of me rather than something I just do. So I would really hate to cut it down. I currently train 4 times a week, with the first exercise being strength, and then the rest of the workout being hypertrophy on the supporting muscles, with a couple of high intensity interval training sessions thrown in at the end if I have time. Sorry for the essay, but I was just wondering what you thought. I know if I go to a normal trainer, then they will say just to carry on because they don't understand the impact of stress and cortisol on the body. Sorry if this is completely inappropriate to be emailing. Thanks in anticipation, Alex.
Great question, and I think this is when I talk about this kind of topic in seminars with trainers and how I'm trying to get trainers to teach other people. I always use the example of working with someone in the city in London. You've got a client, you're not going to change his work pattern, or you're unlikely to change it to any large degree. They're going to get up early, they're going to drive themselves hard, they're going to be working till 7 o'clock at night, and they're often going to be entertaining at night. So how do you manage that stressful situation? And we can do a lot of management, and you just need to accept that you might not get someone to the perfect place because of the lifestyle variables. Now, there's a couple of things that I would do in this. I would make sure that your mentality to everything that you do is very positive. That's the first thing. Like, if situations happen, you're always able and ready to contextualize it, boil it down, and problem solve it in a logical, open and positive way. As soon as you start to let the problem encroach on you and feel like it's coming in on you, then that can be a problem, and mentally that will wear you down. Also, caffeine intake, make sure that's as low as possible to make sure that we're managing the effect of that on your health. And then thirdly, I would make sure you're supplementing with magnesium. Magnesium is very stress depleting, so stress depletes magnesium and vice versa. So if you're training hard, you've got a lot of stress, you're sometimes missing a bit of sleep, I would definitely say magnesium is going to be really important for you. And obviously making sure you get a good night's sleep. And that's personally how I would make sure I would manage your environment as much as possible.
I love the first point that you made there, and that's focus on, have everything in a positive mindset or a healthy state of mind. We can look at somebody like this, and we'll take Alex as the example here. So she's a full-time working mother. She has a 12-month-old child, and she has a pretty stressful job. Now, you can have somebody like that who is mentally in a really good place, happy, settle in herself and confident in herself. You can have somebody in a reverse situation of that, where somebody's got so much time on their hands, they don't know what to do with themselves. They are child free and they have a pretty cruisy job. Now, I compare the two of these between burning out and rusting out. And whereas somebody like Alex, if she if she was to really push here, she could potentially end up in a burnout situation. Whereas in the other situation, where somebody is mentally quite unstimulated, they have a lot of time on their hands. It's still mentally quite stressful to be in that situation, and that's the situation I call rust out. So the two are essentially the same thing. So, and it's all about mindset. And, you can see some of the most, hardest workers out there, yet they're so happy and that's what they love to do. And then you can see some people who would classically be called, I don't know, lazy, for lack of a better word, yet they are also mentally stressed out because of the mindset that they're in. So I think mindset is a big one here.
Yeah, God, yeah. I think if anything affects my health and performance in the quickest way, it's how I'm viewing situations, and definitely that tandem with sleep, because sleep is the one thing that enables you to have a creative and open mind, because it's refreshed and repaired. And as soon as I start to lose a bit of that sleep, oh God, my creativity goes right down. And I understand that, and I try and manage that, and you do the best that you can, and you realise and accept that it won't always be perfect. And I think in this day and age of stress and performance and fitness and lifestyle, we can often self-impose that pressure, put it on ourselves, and as soon as you can take that pressure off yourself, you're in a much better position. Sorry, that's my doorbell. You're in a lot better position to kind of move forward with it. So the stress that we have can often be very self-inflicted, and the most powerful stress is the stress that you imagine is there and is quite often not. Because we build stress, we build problems in our own brain.
100%. And I was having this random chat/theory the other day that somebody can be, let's say, two girls, for example, two girls who are let me clone myself. Okay, so we have Rachel 1 and Rachel 2. God forbid that there was ever two of me in the world. I don't think the world could cope. But Rachel 1 is healthy, happy, and confident and secure around food. Rachel 2 is very anxious. She's very concerned about how many calories are in the food, exactly how much the food weighs, and the effect that food would have on the body. Now, you feed Rachel 1 and Rachel 2 the exact same meal. Say, for example, it's 150 gram fillet steak with green beans and butter. I say that because it's one of my favourite meals. Rachel 1 would look at that meal and say, wow, this is amazing. Like, I've got a great piece of steak here, and that I'm looking at it in a very positive manner. It's going to fuel. I know it's going to fuel my training. It's going to it's going to help keep me happy and healthy. Rachel 2 may look at that and think, ooh, it's a fillet steak. I hope that's under 120 grams, because 120 grams is my limit for my macro, my calorie count for this particular meal. Oh my God, I'm stressing out because there's butter on the beans. I don't know how much butter has been put on the beans, so therefore the whole scenario becomes very, very stressful. So instead of looking at your meal and thinking, wow, this is amazing and so nourishing to my body, and therefore the effect that meal actually has on your body composition, if you think about how many meals you eat throughout your life, if your mindset is such that you're looking at your food thinking, wow, this is fantastic and nourishing for me, surely that has a better effect on your body composition, rather than the stress and anxiety of you looking at that exactly the same food thinking, oh my God, this could potentially make me fat, and then it having a negative effect on body composition. Look, it's woo-woo stuff. Right? You can't prove this in any way, shape, or form. But that's certainly my theory on it. And over the thousands of women that I've worked with all over the world, those who've got generally, a fantastic body composition, who are healthy, happy, confident, secure, always look at their food as nourishing. It's a trait that I see. Unfortunately, it's rare, but those women who I see who are genuinely happy and confident always see their food as nourishing, not as something that could potentially be detrimental to their physique.
Oh God, yeah, amazing, great point. And that's a big problem in fitness, right? There's an awful lot of people that are stuck in that place. I was talking to someone this week on Facebook Messenger who's stuck in that place, and I was like, dude, that's nowhere to look at food. Like, food is there to nourish and provide and be wholesome for you and, be enjoyable. It shouldn't be stressful. And unfortunately, people have got themselves in a place in fitness where it is stressful because there's so much connection between a calorie that goes in and what the output might be. And it's just not a good place to be in.
Absolutely, and that was one of the key things when I when I founded Athletic Fox, 2-3 years ago, was like one of my missions is to remove the stress, the anxiety, and the guilt that's surrounded around food. I think it's to be able to give a woman the confidence to be able to eat and look at a meal and think that it's nourishing is probably the greatest gift that I can give somebody, because to be in a situation where you are so anxious about every single thing and every single mouthful, it's a very, very depressing place to be. And there are so many women and guys out there in that situation, and it's there is another way to do it.
A very key lesson there, I feel, for a lot of people. Anyway, I'm going to have to end the show. I've got to end the show because someone is at my door knocking and it's a very important appointment. We've done 25 minutes, don't worry. There's still plenty of content. The rest of the questions that we've got, it was a quick one. The rest of the questions we've got, it was a quickie and there was lots of Fannies. I hope they've all been provided for. Anyway, enough smart.
Is Fanny like a British word? I don't really use, like, it's not really an Aussie thing, like Fanny. Like, we usually say pussy.
Anyway, we're going to end the show. If you've got a question for the podcast, email me at bencoomber@gmail.com with the subject line podcast. It will get thrown into the mix. Me and Rachel will be doing another Q&A show in 2 weeks' time on Clockwork. Next week on the show is Matt and Kerez from Fitter Food. They're based in London. Fantastic pair of people. It's a great show. We talk about food a lot. I will see you with Rachel on the next podcast. And in the meantime, stay awesome.
Ciao.
Hey everyone, Ben Coomber Radio, episode number 149, I think. Listen, it's a guess, I don't know. We're recording in advance, we're getting stuff done. I am across the pond again. Well, I'm not physically across the pond. I'm interviewing someone that is on the other side of the pond.